Okay, so I'm going to try to do two things to satisfy everybody's needs. We'll get started from ground up on using Apple Classroom, and then I want to move into best practices, because I would really like to hear from you guys that do use it, how you use it, the steps you follow when instructing students, so that we can learn from each other, because you might have better ideas than me, and I'd like to learn from you and to see how you use it too. I want to run this too from two perspectives. I'm going to start up Apple Classroom. I want you to join my class, and I'm going to keep projecting the entire time so you can see the instructor perspective, what you would see as the teacher, and then on your device you can see what the student would see. A lot of times those are things that I always want to see it from the student perspective, and that's a barrier sometimes for me, even in Canvas sometimes, how it's going to look for the student versus how it looks for me, things like that. So hopefully running it this way, we can see it from both perspectives. So if you've never used Apple Classroom before, there's an app, free download. When you open it up, you can create your classes. Already got mine on split screen there. Okay. If you've never used it before, you may have to sign in. It's been so long since I've been using it. I'm not sure those very first few screens. You may have to do some permissions and allow. It may ask you to sign in with your Apple ID. I'm going to assume it's going to pick up your Apple ID if you're already signed in on your iPad, but there may be a few little steps to follow when you first get started. But this is what you're going to see. I'm just going to click the plus. This is from last semester. I'm just going to click that plus, and I'm going to add a class. Pretty straightforward. You can add your class name, whatever you want it to do. I'm going to say, call mine Spring 22 PD, something like that. You can also choose an icon, what you want it to show. So if you want different icons, different colors, so you know immediately that's my 8 a.m., that's my 9:25, or these are my Mondays, these are my Tuesday, Thursdays. So not a whole lot of variation here, but you can manipulate a little bit for how you like it. I'm just going to pick purple. So, and I'm going to pick maybe a little globe right there for my icon, and I'm going to hit done. Now this is the teacher side. So you're doing all of this before you meet with your class. Okay, so you're setting this up. Now that you have this, you're ready to add students. Okay, now y'all, I want y'all to talk to me and give me your opinions and your process too, but here's how I do it. I don't usually have my students sign in to Apple Classroom on the very first day of class, just because to me the day is overwhelming already with everybody throwing them procedures and policies and syllabi and all of this on them. Maybe you do it the first day and that works for you. That's great. I think it really depends on how you're going to use Apple Classroom. Personally, I just use it to proctor exams. But if you're going to use Apple Classroom to manage the class every single class period, and there are some instructors across campus that do that. Students are in Apple Classroom every single class meeting. You might want to do it the first day. Get everybody in that very first day, and we'll talk about pros and cons of each and why you might want to do that. But usually what I do is I will create a very quick, low stakes quiz prior to the big assessment that they're going to take that might take the whole class period. So maybe 2 questions, 3 questions, 1 question, doesn't really matter. Some activity assignment that they can complete pretty quick, and get them into your Apple Classroom before your major project or your major test, because inevitably there will be glitches. Okay, there will be some students that it won't show up for them. I can't join, or I joined and I get disconnected, or their iPad hadn't been updated, and this, that, and the other. So early in the semester, I don't do it the first day just because I don't want them to already hate everything on the first day because of Canvas is down and there's no Wi-Fi. Y'all know how the first day is. I don't know why it happens this way, but it's always something. So I usually do it a couple of periods into class after I've maybe talked to and lectured a little bit. Okay, here's a little whatever quiz you're going to take. And everybody get into Apple Classroom at that point. my first steps, I tell them immediately, very first thing, to go to settings. So I'm gonna pretend you're my students. We're gonna go into settings. Settings is gonna be your little gear, right? So we're gonna click settings, and I want you to check a few things for me. I want you to make sure Bluetooth is on. First thing. If your Bluetooth is not on, toggle it on, okay? Second thing I want you to check is your Wi-Fi. Now, secure versus guest. Some students can run Apple Classroom fine on guest. I've seen it with my own eyes. It doesn't matter what network they're on. Some students that are struggling and getting in Apple Classroom are on guest. I'll say, okay, switch to the secure network and let's see. And all of a sudden it pops in. There it is. So this is just a sketchy little thing, and I don't have an answer for why one works sometimes and why it doesn't. But I always encourage and tell my students to go ahead and get on the secure network to start with, because it seems to me that the secure network works better than the guest. And I don't know if it's competing classes or across campus or what it is, I don't know. But that's something else that I'll tell students to do. Okay, check your Wi-Fi. Are you on secure? If you're not, tap that button, log into your secure network. It's your single sign-on. And students go, what is single sign-on? It's your Canvas sign-on. And they're like, okay, yeah, I know what that is. But that's your single sign-on. So email address and whatever password that they have now created in Okta. Okay? So they'll get it into their secure network. So if you're not already there, hop in there. Okay? Two things I tell students to check up front. Okay, now I'm going to go back to my class, I'm going to open my class, and I'm going to invite you to join. When I hit this invite students, now students are still in settings. I'm going to tell students, you stay in settings, okay? I'm going to hit invite. Now when I hit invite in your settings, you're going to see in the left column Apple Classroom pop up, if it works. Do y'all see it? Is it there? All right.
It doesn't work on iPhone.
It doesn't, not on your phone. There we go, we know that one. So MacBooks and or iPads, okay? If you see it, I called it, what did I call it? Spring 22 PD. So when you see Apple Classroom, just tap it, and the class should be over there to the right. Tap the class, and it's gonna ask you to enter an invite code. Here's my invite code. It's kind of this projector, the coloration on this is not great. 2728. And again, I'm the teacher, so I'm starting to see all you guys pop in right in here. These are all the students that are joining the class right now. Okay? Now, when you type that invite code, just wait until I, as the teacher, choose add. And I'll usually wait several seconds, 30 seconds, a minute, whatever's needed, and see if everybody's in there. Anybody Apple Classroom doesn't show up, and I'll go, okay, let's check your Wi-Fi. Let's toggle. And if everything is set right, if you do have Bluetooth on, or if the student does have Bluetooth on, if they are on secure network and the classroom just isn't showing there, toggle everything off and toggle it back on. Okay, let's cut your Bluetooth off. Cut it back on. Oh, the secure network's not working, toggle it off. Let's toggle it back on. Usually those things will allow everybody to get it to show up. If that doesn't work, I'll have students reset their iPad or turn it on again. Cut your iPad off, and then let's turn it back on. And when I say turn it off and turn it back on, the student iPads have the home button. They're the regular basic iPads. They got a home button. Hold the home button down and the power button down simultaneously together, and hold it and hold it and hold it until the Apple appears on the screen. That's like a restart for that iPad, okay? Just turning it off and then turning it back on is really just like the lock screen and back on. It doesn't do anything to the system. So home button, power button, hold it down. I'm going through all this for any student that the class doesn't show up yet, okay? Usually, eventually, everybody can get in. Now, sometimes once they're in, they show offline. They get popped out. And then we can do, okay, let's toggle on, toggle off. I usually have everybody in class in mind. There have been a few test days where we've done all of that and that kid, doggone it, still shows offline or disconnected. Sometimes I'll see a notice that says disconnected. Okay, we've done through all this. I'm in the middle of the moment. We're in class. Move up here to the front so I can watch you while you take your test. So, because we got to move on. We got to get the test going. So sometimes you just have to, on the fly, make decisions. Okay, I'm going to move you here if you're using it for proctoring purposes. If you're not using it for proctoring purposes, move on, have your class, maybe have them stay after class. Maybe they need to update their iPad. I always encourage students to update because these apps update. So Apple Classroom updates, every few weeks usually. Bug fix, not major changes, they call it minor bug fixes or something like that. It'll update little versions, 0.1, 0.2, 0.3. And it helps if the student iPad is updated. Don't start a huge update in the middle of class. It may take an hour for them to update. So if they're like, okay, you can't get in, move on. After class, let's see what version you're running. Oh, you need to update that baby. After class, go over here and update, and we'll try it again next time. Okay, keep moving. All right, so here we are. I'm going to add you to my class. Now you're all popping in. Those of you that aren't participating.
It keeps disappearing. Like I keep joining and it keeps disappearing. Like I'll see it and I've reset my Bluetooth and Wi-Fi like 5 times.
Okay. Let me hit invite one more time. When you hit add and you see your students populated here, if there's some students, okay, mine didn't get added, then hit invite again. So I'm going to invite again. Now notice I don't have the big invite in the middle anymore. I'm going to have to go up here to some of my tools, the little 3 dots. I'm going to tap those 3 dots and you see I can continue to invite. Maybe you got a kid that's absent. You got to invite them to get them back into your class that next day. Or he didn't join the first time, hit invite for him again. So there we are. I'm going to tap invite. Let's see if you'll get in this time. Code changes, so don't write down the code and give it to them later. When you hit invite, the code's going to change. So now the code is 4430. Anybody still needs to pop in there. There you go. I'm going to ask you real quick before you leave me. Okay? Did you get it in?
Sorry.
Okay, so I'm going to invite you one more time. Sometimes I do it 2 or 3 times. 7431. Try that one. There you are. I'm going to add you. Okay. Now, I show my students this when I explain to them how I proctor tests. Now again, to each their own, you run your class what works best for you and how you want it to go. But I like my students to know that I really can see your screens. I'm not lying up here. I'm not just joking. I'm not trying to get a bluff in. I really can see you. And guess what I'm going to do if I see you cheating? I'm going to screen record. I'm going to get it. And I show them that. So I try to scare them at the beginning, like I'm not going to cheat in her class. Oh my gosh, she's going to get me red-handed and she's going to turn in the video to whoever there. So here you guys all are. Now from the teacher side, I just want to show you what some of your options are. So you'll see this looks like a stack of books. Those are apps. If you want to open an app on your students' devices, you can force that opening, okay? You can lock them in apps, which is what I do when they take the test. I lock them in the Canvas student app for that reason. You can lock them in Safari if you want them to test in a web browser in Safari. The thing with Safari is they can open additional tabs. You can't lock them on a page, but you can lock them in an app. So they're locked in Safari, but they can still open tabs and do whatever they want to do. Of course, you're watching them and have scared them to death ahead of time, so hopefully they're not going to do any of that. But up to you if you want to use the app versus using the web browser. That's a whole other conversation there for that. But I'm going to tap it. And you see I've got a couple of versions here. Some of you are on Macs, some of you are on iPads, and I can choose which apps I want to open on your Mac versus which apps I want to open on your iPad. So if I tap iPad here, it's going to show me the apps that I have available to open. Now you have to have the app. So you tell your students, download this, download that, whatever you want them to use. I tell my students, download the Canvas student app. It's really the only time I use the student app is when they're testing, because I tell them to go to the web version for most assignments and things. I like it much better. But when they're testing, I do put them in the app there. So you have to tell them what to download, what you want them to open. You tap it, it'll open it up on their device. Okay, now if you don't have these apps, they won't open on your device. So I can tap clips. And those of you that have clips, I'm asking you to open that. Those of you that don't have clips, you see I'm getting a notice, these people don't have it, they can't open it there. And again, from the teacher side, I'm able to see that. Okay, now if you want to lock students in a particular app, you choose to lock them before you launch the app. So I'm going to go back to iPad here, and let's say I want to lock students in the student app. They're going to take a little quiz for me. I want to lock them in the app so they cannot get out of the app. There is a little toggle down here at the bottom where you toggle that on. Do that first. So now, if I toggle on, lock an app after opening, then I tap the app I want to open. I'm just going to do student. I'm requesting permission. Some of you get a little notification. Benjamin is asking to lock your iPad or open this app or something like that, whatever the notification says. Again, notice I see several don't have it installed, so I can't open it if you don't have it. Okay? Those of you that did have it, it opened for you. If you allowed that, it opened for you. And if you hit your home button or you try to swipe up, you can't go anywhere. You're locked. You're in the app. Okay? And you will stay locked until two things happen. Either Wi-Fi drops, and it does. Sometimes you're in the middle of class, students are taking a test, and Wi-Fi drops or wobbles or something, and they're not locked anymore. And I'll show you when you're locked. I'm going to hit done. Anybody in here locked? Jennifer, I'm going to use you. You see a little lock icon. It's kind of small. Won't let me pinch on that side. A little small lock right there. So I know she's locked in. Over here, Jason's not locked. He may not even have the app because it's not open. You also see the little app icon. So you see what app they're in. Okay? Settings, what is that? Finder, Google Chrome. So all these little icons show you what app they're in or what tabs they have open and running.
And that helps us in math. We can see if they're open in Mathway or whatever.
There you go. You can see what they're in. Okay. Now notice these are just their name icons, their initials, their names, and whether or not they're locked or not. You can see their screens by these buttons right here. These four remind me of like a little stove top. I tap that. Now I can see your screens. And I show students this. When they take that little quiz I mentioned earlier and they're all getting in, I show them this. I really can see what you're doing. Yeah, it looks kind of small. I can't tell what you're doing, but I can zoom. There we go. And I can see who's doing what. And you know what? You're cheating. I got you locked in Canvas, but because all you can do is lock students in an app. You can't lock them on a page. So yes, you can lock them in the Canvas student app, but they can still navigate within Canvas. They can go over to their notes, or they can go over to whatever's in there for you. So you still have to monitor and watch what they're doing. And I don't tell students they can navigate away, but I tell them I'm watching what you're doing, and if I see you trying to cheat, I'm going to screen record, and I'm going to catch you. So to screen record, I have screen recording added to my control panel, and you can do that from settings. I'm going to do a swipe from the upper right corner down, and I've got my screen recording right there. Okay, and I'm going to tap that. Now again, I'm seeing this on the teacher. It's not going to screen record because I'm airplaying. I'm not airplaying during a test. But I can screen record, okay, and catch them. And they never know it. They never know what I'm doing now. Can they tell I'm looking at their screens? Yes. If you'll notice, you got a little blue icon in the upper right corner. Y'all see that on your devices that are in? That lets the student know that you're looking at them. You can see what they're doing at that point. But I'll screen record them, catch them. I personally have never caught anybody cheating. I know there have been teachers. Anybody here caught anybody cheating? Got some good stories? Yeah. Got a few. I know there's been some in biology that have caught some too. I just personally haven't there, but it's really good. They're like, no, I didn't cheat. No, oh, okay, let me show you this recording right here. I can see every place you went while you were doing it. That's there. Okay. I'm just going to pinch. I'm pinching all I'm doing on my iPad just to make these big, make these small, and so on. Okay? Now, the locking and unlocking. So let's say you've got students locked. If there's a wobble in the Wi-Fi, there'll be no little lock icon there. You won't see it. I usually don't tell them. They don't know it. If they're in the middle of an exam or if they're in the middle of a test or something and they're working, I'm not going to go over there and say, you're not locked anymore, let's get you back in. While they're concentrating on a test, I don't tell them. I just kind of make note, okay, I don't see that lock by this person, and I just watch them a little more closely than I watch some of the others just to make sure. But again, most of the time they never know it until it's over and they're able to hit the home button all of a sudden when they're done. I'm like, what? I could get out of this all along anyway, but some of them can't. So that's one way. Another way to break that lock is when the Bluetooth is broken. So when students finish a test or they finish their assignment, I don't unlock them. I tell them this too because inevitably they'll get halfway out the door or they'll come back, I can't get out. I tell them this up front at the beginning. When you finish your test, go ahead and go. As you walk away from me, the Bluetooth will break connection and your iPad will unlock automatically. I don't have to unlock it. Now, a few times I have had some students that may have class next door. They're going to a math class after my bio class, or they're going down to the lab to study, and that Bluetooth does hold on, and then they come back and they're like, I'm still locked. Okay, you can unlock them individually. Choose a name. Jennifer, I'm gonna get you again. When I tap Jennifer's name, these are my options right here. Okay, I can open another app. There's that little book, so I can get her out of Canvas and push her into something else if I want to. Navigate is like a website or an Apple book. I'll show you that in just a second. You can just open up a website on someone's device. Of course, you know view screen. Just look at their screen. Hide means I hide your screen. Let me do everybody if I can do everybody this way. I don't know if I can hide. Yeah, right there. Did your screen go black and a little lock came up? Those of you that are in the class? I did it on the iPad. I don't know if it'll do it on a MacBook.
It didn't go black, it just closed all my apps.
Closed your apps for you. Okay. So that is what that hide. I'm hiding apps for you. I'm closing things out for you as well. I'm going to cancel that so you can relaunch them if you want to. Okay. And let me go back to okay, so that is the hide. There's the lock and unlock. So I can tap it, the person is locked. I can tap it again and she's unlocked. So you can do that for individual students. Mute turns the volume on everybody's device that's in the class down immediately. It doesn't actually mute it per se where you can't turn it back up. Like if I hit mute, everybody that's in the class, their volume is going to go down, but you can hit your volume button and turn it right back up. It's not going to lock it into mute. It's just going to turn it all down. And then Airplay. I haven't used this before, and I'm Airplaying. Let me try it. Can I Airplay somebody's iPad that's in class? This is where you Airplay somebody else. Now, most of our Apple TVs are set up where students can Airplay anyway. They just type in the code. So this is not necessary for us, but if you are using Apple Classroom daily and you just want to do it quick, hey, let me see what's on yours that's there. Let's see if it works. I haven't used it yet. Who said can I Airplay somebody? Get you bad stuff off your screens.
At the bottom.
At the bottom. Okay. Stop. Okay. So I'm going to try you, and let's see what will happen if I tap Airplay. Okay, it's going to ask me the room. We're in 322.
Yep.
So I'm kind of doing it for you. It's asking me for the code. Are you getting prompted for the code?
Nope.
Okay, it's asking me for the code, 4107. Okay. Enter the password. Oh, I already did. Did one say code, now one says password? There may be something in the settings of the device. I didn't cancel. Try one more time and see if there's a difference. 322. Now it's thinking. Okay, so I had to play for this with a minute. I think the first time, did y'all catch that? The first time it said enter the code, and I entered that number, and then it said enter a password. It didn't say code twice, did it? It didn't say code and then password, right? So there may be something on the Apple TV itself in settings that requires a password. But
You got the red X.
Operation timed out, that's right. I got the red X.
Carlena, do you think it's because you're already airplane?
Maybe.
Blocking is.
Maybe. Let's try that. Let me get not screen mirror anymore. Stop mirroring. Okay, we'll try one more time and see if I can AirPlay. I'm still gonna do you, Dr. Stone. So let's see. Airplane iPad. It's saying okay, passcode 4107. Let's try this. 4107.
That's it.
Eureka! It works. So you just can't be airplaying. We all learned something. I can't airplay and then somebody just automatically take over. I have to shut mine off and then they can airplay. So if for whatever reason you don't want to tell your students, swipe down, choose the room, type the code, you can do it for them if you want to. So there we go. Now, yours is airplaying. I hit done. There we are. I cannot, you'll have to, let's see if I can get you off now.
Can I get it off?
Stop airplane. Oh, you can't see it, but because I'm not airplane. But on mine, I have an option that says now stop airplane.
No.
So now I can cut it off when I want them off. And so they're off. Yep, went to the home screen. And now I can get back on. 22. And there's me. I'm back in. So that's pretty convenient. I've seen that there, but I've never used it before. So that's an option. Okay? All right, that was AirPlay. And then if you have students that are cut out, you do it maybe the first day of class or first week of class, then they change their schedule and they're not in anymore, but they're already in, and you just want to keep your class nice and tidy and not have people in there that's not in your class anymore, you can remove them, take them out, delete them from class. Kind of keep your roll clear that way. Okay? So those are the options. And to get this screen, I just tapped a student's name, and I'm doing this individually. You can also do this for the entire class. There's the view screens, right? That was the lock where your screen went black or it closed your tabs there. There's the mute. And then again, those little three dots, you can invite more students. Maybe there's a kid that joins late and you've got to get them in your class. Or they get a new device. Or for whatever reason, it's buggy and they keep showing offline and every single time they try to use it, it's not working for them. Boot them out and invite them again. Okay, just start from scratch and all of that. Now, before I end the class, let me show you a few things over here. Okay, over here on the left toolbar, and you can open and close this. Clicking that little icon right there. If I tap that icon, notice I go full screen. So that's not taking up my view. You can see more thumbnails if I need to. If you want to open that little sidebar, just click that there. It'll open it back up. Okay, you can see all the apps that are running. So this is kind of a global view of what students are running right now and what they're in, Chrome, Mail, Safari, so on. You can also see your devices. 18 people are on iPads, 6 people are on Macs. So you can see that if you have a different environment there. And something that's new to the latest update of Apple Classroom is you can create groups. Now, I don't know if you want to do this. If you're going to use Apple Classroom as a management tool every day in class, I can see benefit to this and adding a group. If you put them in collaboration groups and let's say this group's going to work in Keynote and do yada, 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 and this group over here is gonna be in clips and be making that, and this group over here, whatever your situation may be. But if you're gonna have them working in groups and you want to manage them in groups, you can do that, okay? To do that though, add your group and to add your students, you have to select your students first. This is something that I discovered. You can't create a group and then come back and add students to it. Pick your students, then put them in a group. So here's what I mean by that. I'm gonna use that select option in the upper right-hand corner. When I tap select, I can now pick my students, who I want. So I'm just gonna pick my first few, 3 right there. And now I'm gonna tap down here in the bottom, kind of hard to see, it says new group. So I'm gonna tap new group, and I'm gonna name my group. I'm gonna say this is group 1. I'll be real creative there. Group 1. Okay. Those 3 people have just been added to that group, and I only see those 3 people. So now if I only want to lock those 3 people, or if I only want to force an app to open on those 3 people, I can do that without having to look through 30 some odd names, or sometimes, well, COVID, we're in the 30s now, but used to 50 some odd names if you've got 50 kids in a class sometimes, and find that kid and that kid and that kid. You can find them first, put them all in a group, and now you can manage them right here. And that group will stay. They're now in that group. So next class period, they come back, the group's still there until you remove them. You can remove them from the group. And putting them in a group doesn't take them away from your whole class. You can still go back to your whole class. If I go back to all students right here, everybody's still here. So I can still manage everybody when I need to, and then I can manage small groups when I need to. Okay? So that's something new with the update. Something else that's new with the update that really got my hopes up and then I was quite deflated was using Apple Classroom remotely. You guys read about that, anybody? I'm kind of a nerd, so I read about that. I was like, yes, we can use Apple Classroom remotely. It could be a proctoring tool for us. Wah, wah. No, you have to manage Apple IDs for that. Northeast does not manage Apple IDs. What that means is we would have to create their Apple ID for them, and we would push that Apple ID out to them on the iPad, and then add students ahead of time based on class roles, and pretty much you lose the ability to do this on your own because it's all done for you from the back end. So when you as the instructor open up Apple Classroom, all your classes would be there, all your students would be there, which would be convenient, but you don't have the ability to manipulate anything that's in there other than the basic tools that are there, okay? And again, we don't manage Apple ID, so it's not an option for us anyway. That's there, so. If you read about that down the road somewhere, like, oh, it works remotely, yes, but. You have to have, don't say yes, but they say, right? Say yes and. Yes and! They have to have Apple IDs for that to happen. Okay, any questions here so far on using it? Comments? Okay, when class is over, you hit select, or not select, excuse me, I don't want to pick students, I'm going to end it for everybody. So I'm going to hit the 3 dots, little hamburger menu that's there. And then I'm just going to choose end class. Okay? Now, this is my screen where I can see what each student was doing during the class period. These are all the apps that were used during the class. I can tap an app and I can see who was in it. So if I tap settings, it gives me a summary of all the students that were in settings and then the duration. They were in, they hopped out, they got back in, hopped out, hopped in, hopped out. That's the little dots kind of that you see. So it's a global view of all students right here, okay? If you want to just choose one student, if you're like, okay, maybe somebody was cheating. They looked really suspicious back there, right? I make my students lay their iPads flat too when they test. I don't know if you guys do that. You know, iPads propped up. It's probably more convenient and comfortable propped up, but I just ask them to lay it flat. Because if I happen to be not I do kind of make passes while people are testing anyway. But they can hide stuff behind their iPad. It's propped up and I can't see. So I make everybody lay their iPads flat for that, just for a visual, physical proctoring purpose there. But let's say there was a kid and I'm like, this was shifting, he kept looking at me and looking, whatever the case may be, and I want to look at that one person. I can tap that one name. I lied. I can't tap that one name. I don't want to get done.
Go down below.
Are they? There they are. Thank you. The bottom, there they are. All my people disappeared at the bottom. So now I can tap that one person and I can see all the apps that one person was in. And ideally, what you would want to see is maybe settings at first, and then a long stint in the Canvas app or Safari or whatever you're testing in. And then when they hit submit and they leave, that Bluetooth connection is broken when they leave. If they're locked in, they can't go anywhere after that. But if they're not locked in, they may open notes or whatever after the test is over. Okay? But once you hit done, when you're finished reviewing everything, once you hit done, this screen is gone. It is not saved. So if you see something suspicious, or maybe they're just not paying attention. Maybe you're using it for classroom purposes. Every day they log in, it pops in, and you're not really proctoring. You're just kind of monitoring what they're doing in class. And you're like, they're watching Netflix is this long during the whole class period or something. Grab a screenshot. Just put it in your back pocket. Save it for later when they're like, can I get some extra credit? I'm like, let's take a look. You are on Netflix. Here and here and here and here and here. I'm not so sure about that extra credit. So for a screenshot, quick screenshot, Apple Pencil, swipe up from the left corner. Got a screenshot right there. Okay? You can mark up if you want to mark up. Make yourself a little note.
Netflix.
Netflix. Frowny face. Okay, and then save that. You can save it to your photos. You can save it to files. Maybe make yourself a folder in files that says cheaters. I don't know. something else. Maybe something more positive. But Apple Classroom. There you go. Make yourself a folder that says Apple Classroom. And then throw that in files if you don't want it in your storage, in your photos, big screenshots all over the place in your photos, wherever you want to put it. I'm going to delete mine. So there we go. Because once you hit done, it's done. And you can't go back. Oh, I want to go back and see what they were doing. You can't go back. Once the session is ended, the session has ended. Okay? All right, now, a couple of comments from me on, I wouldn't call it best practices because it may not be best. I'd like to hear how y'all use it. But when I am proctoring, how many of you use it for proctoring or might start using it for proctoring? Okay, the majority actually. Okay, there is a delay. If you have your students completing a test or a quiz in Canvas, there is a delay from when the exam submits and when the grade pops in Canvas. Have y'all picked up on that? It's not huge. It may be like 10 seconds, 12 seconds. Some students will stay. I allow my students to review their submission. I don't tell them that the answers aren't shown, but they can see what they've missed. So when they hit submit, they can scroll and see what questions that they missed while they're still in class. That gives time for the grade to pop into Canvas. And what I do is I split screen the teacher app. So swipe up from the bottom. With iOS 15, there's a new way to split screen, the 3 dots at the top. You can actually tap those 3 dots and you can split screen an app that way too. I'm in the habit of swiping up from the dot from the bottom, but if you've got issues with your fingers and swiping and stuff, like my mom has issues swiping and things, it's pretty convenient just to do taps now if you want to. So let's say I want to tap. It's going to ask me which app do I want to open. I'm going to open my Canvas teacher app right here. So now when I proctor an exam, this is my view. This is what I see. Of course, I've already ended the session, but if we were still in, I would see all the student names there. I would be viewing their screens over there. And you can, it automatically by default will stick in the middle, but you can swipe over and make this bigger so you can see. Don't forget, you can always pinch and zoom. It's not gonna let me zoom on this done page. I'm gonna end it and I'm gonna go back in. I'm looking at screens right now. Everybody take your shady stuff off. I just did the screen. And now I can pinch and zoom and so on. So if I need to, I can do that. So it's pretty versatile in that instance. Over here, I've got my Canvas Gradebook open. Now, as I was saying, some students will finish their test, they'll stay, they'll look at what they missed, and that gives a grade time to post over here. And I can see they're done and I can see what they made before they even leave the room. Okay? Some students don't care. Or they just don't. Maybe they care, but they're upset and they didn't make the grade they want. They just want to get out, or they got to go to the bathroom, or they, whatever the case may be. They don't stay and they don't review their test. They hit submit, they see their grade, and they walk out the door. And there's a delay here. The first time I did this, I was like, are you finished? Wait, you can't leave. Are you done? Did you submit? Because I don't see that you've submitted. I'm like, oh, okay. 5 seconds later, oh yeah, there's your grade. You're good to go. Now what I have my students do is I make them go to the dashboard just because it's easy visually. They'll go to the dashboard in Canvas when they submit their test. Remember, I have them locked in Canvas, so they can't get out. But I have them go to the dashboard where they see all their classes and the cards are color-coded, and I can pick up on that real easy right here. So they'll go to their dashboard. When they go to their dashboard, I know that they're done, and I can see it here, that they're in their dashboard. And as they're walking out and as they're finishing, they'll chat with me. I tell them to chat with me, and I'll look. If I see that dashboard, I give them a thumbs up. That's what I do on the way out the door, okay? Sometimes if there's a delay or if they got locked out, offline, they're grayed out for me and I can't see them. Sometimes there's glitches and maybe there's even a delay here in our classroom. I'll have them show me your iPad on your way out the door, and they're like, you know, just to make sure they're out on that, because I just have this fear of, it's a fear, but control issues maybe, I don't know. But I just have this thought that they're gonna leave before they actually submitted. You know, they're gonna, they think they're done. So they're gonna walk out, they still got my test open, they're gonna go out there and cheat and take pictures before they actually submitted. So I'm like a little manic when they finish, and I'm like, you're actually done, okay. Well, no, I don't see it, show me your screen. Because I don't want to disturb other students while they've got their heads down, their testing. So I'm like, okay, you're good, you know. Or I'm like, no, you're not good, come here. And I look, sometimes they'll hit submit, but they don't exit the test. I have that a lot. They don't hit that exit button because I do allow them to review the test. So they'll submit, they'll review, they don't exit. So the test is still up even though they're done. I'm like, you can't walk out with my test questions on your screen. So you gotta hit that exit button. So that's kind of how I monitor proctoring wise. Okay, now, what do y'all do? How do y'all do it?
I just want to mention that in the apps that we use in our math, they can exit, but if they still if you haven't changed the password and their time's not out, they can still go back in. So you have to make sure you change the password for them to get back in. I had a student this semester that caught doing that because she didn't go far enough, and I saw her screen pop it back up. So, but I try to be diligent as soon as the first one gets ready to leave, change that password.
Yeah.
So that's just something to keep in mind.
Is this a test in Canvas, you're saying?
They access it through Canvas, but it's in
It's
my
a
open
third
math.
party. Gotcha. Yeah.
And
So
they
that's
can get
something to
back in it.
consider if you're using like a Pearson or McGraw-Hill or a publisher where they go through Canvas but they're to an external site. Kind of consider those factors, right? How about anybody else? No? Questions? Comments? You gonna use Apple Classroom? You're gonna call me if you got glitches?
Do you have to start, I can't remember, do you have to start a class every time? So like every Monday, Wednesday at 8 o'clock, I have to invite students?
No. Once they join, they're joined. So if you wanted to use it every single class period, one thing in settings though, I would make sure they toggle. I don't do this because I just mainly use it for proctoring, but if you guys notice, I don't know if it'll show it on mine because I'm the teacher, but it'll ask permissions. There's permissions like always allow or ask. Tell your students to click always allow, because otherwise when you try to view their script, I mean, you can get around it. You just try to view, it'll ask permission. It's just another step.
Yeah.
But if they'll do always allow,
They're just always.
they're always in it. The
So
minute you have to start the class.
Yeah.
But the minute you start it, they populate automatically. Yep. And tell them, like, some students freak out, oh my gosh, she can see my screen, and when I go to my dorm room, she's gonna see my, like, I tell my students, it relies on Bluetooth. The minute you walk down that hall, it's broken, I can't see anything you're doing. Because some students are hesitant, you know, so especially your non-traditionals. I've noticed, I've had a few non-traditional students who are like, what? You can see my screen and what I'm doing, what about, you know, and so I kind of explain that on the front end too.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else? Okay, thanks for joining.